Hello and welcome to Crouton Crafts. Today I'm going to show you how to whip up these super easy Christmas stocking ornaments. I know it's a little late in the season to be whipping up ornaments, but these are super easy and you can whip up a half a dozen of these in less than an hour. So let me show you how easy these are to make. For this project you're going to need some fabric. Use scrap fabric if you want to. You don't even have to use Christmas fabric if you want. But I've got two different Christmas fabrics here. You'll also need some leftover batting. This is cotton batting. You could also use felt for this if you wanted to, if you don't have any batting laying around. You'll also need some of this stuff here. It is called sherpa fleece, usually what they make dog toys and stuff out of. It's super cheap. You'll also need some ribbon for the hanger. You'll need scissors to cut everything out, a pencil to mark out your pattern. If you're going to sew these on a machine or by hand, of course you will need thread, and of course a needle. And you will need your pattern. Now this pattern I will put on my Facebook page. I will put a link down below. You can search for me on Facebook, Crouton Cracker Jacks, and if you click on photos and then go to, I believe it's albums, it'll be there in the template album. But I didn't even print this out. I just put a piece of paper up to my monitor, traced around it, cut it out. Super simple. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is cut out your fabric pieces. So just take your template here, and on the back of your fabric, or right side, whatever side, it doesn't matter, you want to trace around your template, and then you will need a mirror image of the same shape or your same template. Go ahead and cut those out, and this is what they will look like when they are cut out. You just need two pieces that are a mirror image. It doesn't matter if they're different on either side. It kind of makes them reversible. So if you want to use two different fabrics, go ahead and use two different fabrics, and that way they will be reversible for you. And then you want to take your batting or felt, if you're going to use felt for this project, for in between the two pieces of fabric. Again, go ahead and place your template down and then draw around it. Now to cut this out, what you're going to want to do is, I'm going to trim this down here really quick. Let me get this so you can see this here. For this piece, because you're going to be layering it between this, and since you're going to be sewing or gluing around the edge, you want to connect the two fabrics together. So basically what you're going to want to do is cut this smaller than what you traced it out at. So I am actually going to cut it a scant 1/4 inch or so inside of the line that I drew. You don't have to be perfect with this. Cut that off, get rid of the excess here, and now to layer this up. I'm sure I'm out of focus here. Now to layer this up, you want to take one piece of your fabric, you want to lay your batting or felt in the center there, and then take your next piece, the mirrored image piece, and layer that right up on top. And make sure there's no wrong edge showing out around the edge. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and pin this if you're going to be sewing this. If you're sewing it by hand, you can do a blanket stitch around the edge. That would be perfectly fine. However, I want this to go quick, so I'm going to do this on my machine. And I forgot to mention this before we sew this together or glue it. You want to take your ribbon or cording or whatever you're going to use for the hanger and cut yourself off a piece. And I'm going to stick this inside before we sew this. Now you'll notice I did not put it right here at the corner or the point. If you do, your stocking is going to hang funny. So this is about 1/2 inch in or 3/4 inch in, and again you can pin this if you want to. I'm not going to. So let's go over to my machine and start sewing this. Alright, so I'm going to start this right here where my hanger is. So I'm going to drop my machine down, and I'm going to slowly go around this edge about 1/8 inch or so from the edge. If you have an embroidery machine or a machine that does fancy stitches, go ahead and use that for this. This is just a straight stitch machine, so I'm going to go slowly here and just go, like I said, 1/4 inch around the edge. You don't have to be real precise here. When you get to these sharp corners, you're going to have to lift up and pivot your work there. You want to go around these corners kind of slow. Make sure that your bottom fabric is staying in place. And if you're using pins, you won't have to worry about this. Now you could just leave it like this and just go around your ornament once. I'm going to actually go around my ornament 3 times just to give this line of stitching kind of a bolder appearance or whatever on the ornament. Now if you want to use, I'm using matching thread here. You don't have to use matching thread. You can use a contrasting thread or a heavy embroidery thread. Use whatever kind of thread you want to use. If you want to do bobbin work around this edge, that would be fine as well. And now that we got the first row of stitching done, I'm going to whip it around kind of quickly because this is stuck together. It's not going to go anywhere. So, and I'm not following the previous line of stitching to a T. I'm just kind of going generally next to it or around it. Second time around, I'm going to pivot this corner here. Alright, now I'm back to the front. I'm going to back stitch just a couple times, pull this out, and this right here is what it will look like. And now I'm going to work on this little puffy top here. I'm going to be using Sherpa fleece. This is just a little scrap of it, and I'm going to draw directly onto the back of this fleece, my pattern here, because I want it a little bit bigger than what the actual stocking is. It gives a little bit of a dimension to the stocking, to the ornament. So what I'm going to do is take my ornament here that I'm actually working on, and I'm going to draw about 1/4 of an inch outside of my ornament here, around the outside edge, and this will be my cut line. Now as far as how far down you want this to go, I just am going to eyeball this and make it look about like this, and then just eyeball a curved, gradually curved line like that. And then you want to flip your ornament over and do the same thing on this side. There's that all drawn out, and again I'm just going to take my scissors here and cut this out, this time on this line. I'm going to cut just inside of it so that way I don't have a black line on my fleece there, because I don't want to see a black line on around the outside of my ornament. So I'm just going to cut kind of sloppily here actually inside of that line and get rid of your excess there. Now what you want to do is put these two pieces together, make sure that they are generally the same size, and then you want to mesh these on your ornament. I'm just going to put it like that, take the other piece and put it right on top of there. Again, this does not have to be perfect. This is the right side of my ornament here actually. Kind of position it so it looks alright before you sew it, and this looks pretty decent for me. I cut the line a little short right there, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. These are kind of rustic type ornaments. Now if you want to, you don't have to sew this. This Sherpa fleece is kind of a pain to sew. I'm going to sew it anyway. You could hot glue this or just use a fabric glue to glue this part on. That's perfectly fine. But I'm going to change out the thread on my sewing machine and I'm going to sew this. Alright, so I've got my white thread in here. Now you're probably not going to be able to see my stitching line here, but just take my word for it. I'm going to back stitch just a few stitches there before I go around. And again, I'm using the same 1/8 inch seam allowance that I used before. And you want to make sure that this bottom edge lines up with this top edge, because you're sewing such a thin seam allowance. You want to make sure that that catches. And once you get back at the beginning of where you started stitching, go ahead and take a couple back stitches. And now, go ahead and trim your threads. And now what you want to do is trim up this piece of sherpa here. So I'm going to go around and make it look nice and neat. Make sure that the seam allowance is there. Now you do not want to cut your hanger, so be careful there. And trim all this extra fluffy stuff off around the edge. That makes it look kind of yeah. Then go ahead and give it a fluff. Get the extra fluff out. And then you can go ahead and hang that on your Christmas tree. So there you go. That is how I made the Christmas stocking ornaments. I hope you guys enjoyed this super easy tutorial. And if you make some of these and want to post them on my Facebook page, I will put a link to that down below. I would love to see them. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.